out for another grand adventure in the flatbed. I gotta pick up more stuff for the grain bins. I did the math and we're coming up short on flooring parts. That's what we're picking up. Now we just gotta find the address for this place and get loaded. And hopefully we'll get the middle bin finished very soon, very soon. Somewhere it is out here. And we might have a nice pit stop on this trip because like 2 miles before we're supposed to get here, I passed an auction that had some nice, fun, old-looking stuff. So we'll probably have to stop and take a gander at that, even though I could really use lunch. Okay, we gotta be getting close. Phone says this is it, and there's blocks back there. Yeehaw. No, that's what we're after. Look way up ahead. Cinder blocks, yay. Well, we're taking a look at this auction I said we passed, and it's incredibly close. This is like my dream toy. Maybe this could rectify some of our moisture issues. A Dynapack 3000, powered by a V8 Mercedes. I don't know, there's probably some age on that machine, but it still does the job. It's not like the old, say, Buckeye trenchers with the big wheels. But that one, you know, it's like a Vermeer trencher with the chain and stuff. Digging it up instead of just trying to use brute force to pull whatever through the dirt. They're much drier here than we are too. They must have missed some rain. This is all the modern stuff over here. Something tells me there should be some newer tractors somewhere. Oh, the good old Chem Farm tanks. We can see our reflection in them. Might as well come over for that. These were big back in the day. There used to be a time when you had to incorporate some of your pre-emergent herbicide. That's what saddle tanks were for, and they'd have a sprayer set up along the front of the disc. Because I haven't seen a set of X-Fold booms. Here's all the small stuff. Oh, there's the goodies. A John Deere 55 combine. You can tell it's windy, and the motors are free in those fans. Huh, maybe I should stock up on those for my grain bin projects. Yeah, it's a good old 55. This is mostly an antique auction by the looks of it. I'm just gonna take a quick walk around. That one looks like it was maybe in the middle of restoration processes. Yeah, it's very much in the middle, based on the paint and primer and belts hanging off. And here's a 40. This is a cute little guy, like a real cute little guy. I'm almost as tall as this combine. Take a chance. This is the view from the seat. Could you imagine when this thing was brand new? Living high on the hog. Yield monitor is right behind us. Might take a few of these to fill a gravity wagon. Take a few dumps. Might even take a minute or two to unload. It only looks like it might be 6. I don't think it's 8-inch. The auger coming out. Oh man, that's narrow. That's barely 2 foot wide. I don't know how. I think the cylinder in these is only 26 inches maybe. Cute little 4-cylinder gas engine up high. I'm always baffled about like the transmissions. Every time I see a 40, I guess the drive shaft runs through the axle there. The first one I saw I thought was only single wheel drive. Okay, let's come around this side. Some more old wagons. The bulldozer could be interesting. We know it runs because you see the tracks coming across the field. It's a David Bradley wagon. We'll walk in between these. I wonder if there's no hoist. I don't see hoist underneath them. This is classic on the steel. Take a look in here. Oh, a wood. Oh, and the wood works. That's fancy. If we wanted to pick corn like it was 1940. Well, we know it runs. It made it over here based on the tracks. I'm not sure if it's been used much. Let's see if there's much shine. No, it's been sitting because there's not much shine on the blade, so it's been at least a year. Probably been under a roof based on just kind of the dust and the status of the rust. That could be very interesting. Somebody's been changing oil because they marked how much oil, so it has been changed at least once before. A Ford, I don't know them. Oh, it's an 800. Okay, I didn't see that before. That one might still be awaiting restoration, but I would guarantee that it runs based on the ignition components. Now this is a real antique, this Reaper here. Let's look at the seat. Champion. It's a Champion Reaper. Not a McCormick, it's a Champion. This thing is, you want to talk about a 100-year-old piece right here. It's at least 100 years old. And it sat in a barn. I'm sure over the years many of these have been scrapped. And that whole mechanism, that is the wildest thing. To see this in action with the paddle spinning, cuts it and makes a windrow behind. And I've never paid much attention, and somebody has used it because there's wear. This thing does turn. That's got to be wicked. A manure spreader, and even this is a miracle to have survived. Somebody really took care of it, kept it cleaned out and oiled down, that's for sure. It's like a full-on antique show here. We got a co-op. I don't know much about the co-ops other than the early Cockshuts were about the same as the co-ops. Says it's an E4. Probably doesn't run because there's no carburetor. Definitely a parts machine. We're talking my language. Corn pickers. A Dearborn. A very odd design. The corn's got to turn and go up and turn. They put a lot of angles in this machine. I'm not sure it's compact or efficient. Other than you don't use up as much space with the elevator having it start way down here. And we'll see more corn pickers here in a second, but we notice how the husking bed runs downhill. There's a couple more corn pickers like this one on this H. Oliver 70. Yes, I like this. The H is fun because of the corn picker. That, the stock rolls become the husking rolls farther up, and it's all uphill. The Model 24 picker. This one is extra classic, I feel. Just makes me want to go out and pick some corn. Too bad there's not corn to pick all year long. It'd be fantastic. Well, whatever it was, the last thing that was on the Oliver did not come off the PTO. I wonder. Nobody's paying attention. How do we climb up here? That looks like a step. That looks like a step. Might as well get the seat view. I want the seat view. I don't know if you guys want the seat view. But you're not out here with the camera, so we're getting what I want to see. That's not too bad. Looking down the snouts. Talk about the elevator being right under your butt. Ooh. If I needed a corn picker, I would say this one turns over. Would you trust it in the field? Maybe. Oh, it runs off the belt pulley. Interesting. I did not notice that before. And the PTO is unused. I mean, I guess that's most convenient. Use the belt pulley that's running in the same direction as a lot of your chains and stuff are turning. Instead of needing gearboxes to run off the PTO down there. Oh, let's hop down. Oh, what do we have? Old vehicle. Okay, looking inside. Oh wow. Is it unlocked? It's unlocked. Oh yeah. What is this? It smells like old. There's a key in it. Oh wow. 48,000 miles. I like the interesting odometer. Manual transmission. This is a tight cab. Like, you better like the person next to you. The windows roll down. This must have been a luxury vehicle. Something more than a Model A. Date serviced. Got a mobile. Oh, that was the last 48. Maybe the odometer wasn't working. Last oil change. Windshield wiper. Yep, not much left of those. Man. Not getting 3 across. Ooh, and a wooden floor. Who is this? Oh, I gotta look at the front. Voice motometer. Oh, it's a Studebaker. What is that? It must be a temperature gauge or something for the radiator. That's neat. Old Studebaker. An old John Deere pull-type combine. Number 12A. The threshing with the cylinder and everything is the same width as your cut. And if we look at the cleaning components, the sieves and stuff, they haven't changed much from then to now. Oh, I've never seen like a rattle chain up. Oh, wow. Okay, it's dark in here. But the straw walker is a very interesting setup. I've never seen it. There's a bunch of just wood slats. Like 1 inch on their side. Oh, that's a bagging thing. Or is this a scour clean? That could be a scour clean. To take the weed seed out. I've seen those a lot on old gleaners. You know, other than the canvas not being there to feed up to the inside of the machine, this could work. So hook up the PTO and roll. It's behind a John Deere D. Oh, let's see. You never think the tractors were so small back then, but this W12 is tiny. It's like TC size. They planned on using the PTO because they can adapter to step up. That's good. That's a tiny little PTO shaft. McCormick Deering 42, set up with a bagger. So you better have a buddy, somebody to fill bags for you, else you're just gonna have a big pile there. And the canvas is in great shape. Let's look up her skirt. What's inside? A very narrow cleaning area. And more corn pickers. Yes, the favorite thing of my farming existence, corn pickers. Now this one's PTO powered. So it's like sits on a ball hitch. But it's got this one crazy wheel and another, wheel to hold the weight. On a John Deere M. They weren't farming with big tractors. They were not farming with big tractors back then. Which I don't doubt that. This kind of reminds me of my Ford picker that I had, but like a mirror image. How much of this can we... Well, you can see under there the chains. Lots of flatlings. That has definitely gone by the wayside. And if we can look in the husking bed here, we look down from the top, there's the 2 husking rolls, and there's these chain paddles that push everything uphill, so they're going against gravity. Hopefully I guess that wouldn't cause a problem. Oh, we have another farm mall. Very red and green around here. With a mounted 2-row planter. This is definitely rare. You don't see many of the planters. Another D. I'm running out of steam on this video, but there's some really cool stuff. And they even have the twine for the wheat binder. If this stuff works, the Amish would be all over it. And even if it doesn't work, they could probably make it work. It'd be a solid 6-foot cut. They had drapers back then, technically. Some old plows, a corn binder, and they've even got a catch table. A lot of these binders, I don't know, the catch tables just didn't survive. On a side note, for the age of these things, they had the knotting technology figured out by the turn of the century. Planter, a really, really old planter. Springfield, Ohio, made by A.C. Evans Manufacturing. There's no chain drives. You have to have somebody sitting on this seat. It pulls the lever and it turns that little disc down there to drop seed so you can hill plant. And all it's missing is the check wire, which this John Deere has a check wire. That way you can cultivate in 2 directions in your corn and hopefully get all the weeds. Okay, we got a whole row of tractors over here. These are less old. These are almost getting into my time range of stuff to use. We have a 4010 narrow front, a 4010 kind of wide, maybe a Wheatland standard with some rice tires. And then a more standard 4010, a 3020, an MT. The MT, I remember reading history on that. It's the same as the M, but there's some slight differences. The T, so it was a different model. Because back in the day there was some government regulations about changing the price on things, so if they came out with a new model they could come up with a new price. So the MT was the way to get around the government price halt. Let's see, an unstyled a very classic Alice Chalmers WD, I think. A little rusty on my Alice numbering hand crank. No headlights, so this is like pre-war machinery right there. Looks like an old case. It's unmarked. I can't make a guess. One more Alice Chalmers. Oh, the antiquities just keep coming. I found another old planter made in Moline, Illinois by a DM Seckler. Check wire. You know, these are the things you'll find hanging from the roof or the wall of your favorite fine dining restaurant because I like to decorate with antiques. A classic hay loader. We finally got to the hay equipment. This looks like maybe some sort of hay fluffer or a tine weeder. This is the fine establishment having this auction. Okay, let's see what's inside the barn here. Oh wow, you know, the barn is no slouch either. Look at that loft. There's old barn beams, new barn beams. It's a very high loft in general. The tractors just keep coming. It keeps getting better. An Oliver 60. The lighting is better in here too. We have sun. What is this cute little guy? Oh, it's an H. He's a cute little guy. A C with planters yet again. An old case Model C. I guess a lot of these were, you know, 1 or 2 plow tractors. Because I guess, you know, you go to the antique shows and there's tons of M's running around and they make, you know, the Ford 8Ns look small. But there was a lot of other smaller tractors at the time. Oh, look at that Prairie Gold, a Molinar. But the only reason why I like Molines is that bright yellow paint. It's just so sunny and uplifting. take a look at the back end of some of these guys. Let's hop on a cultivator tractor. I can definitely look down and see your row of corn there and your row of corn there, and hopefully the ironworm isn't getting it. That's the whole point of, you know, the rows being visible and the cultivators up front. Ooh. Okay. I'm gonna drool over this a little bit. An Old Bell City picker. You pick on one side. And it's designed to have somebody pull along the side of you and pull a wagon. I did wonder how they got that down the road. It was designed to fold. Good plan, everybody, good plan. An old McCormick Deering. And for the time, this was a lot of like stylization, you know, covering up the engine like that. 1929. Well, hopefully they bought that before the stock market crash. They should have, especially with the picker if it matches. Okay, this one takes the cake on the corn pickers. Because you don't need to pull a wagon. It would be magnificent when it's not super dry. Only one row. An F20 and a #1 corn picker. Lots of galvanized sheet metal. Lots of galvanized sheet metal. It was a great plan. Now, one thing, don't you just love those universal joints, those big knuckly guys? 6-roll husking bed. That's a bit of a contraption. How does that work? That definitely keeps the corn pushed down. If we look on the bottom here, keeps the corn pushed down on the rollers. That one is a little worn at the base. I kind of really want to take this thing out and try it. Now my Ford corn picker, the upper trash rolls were driven just like that with those big spiky gears. And a top drive elevator. Wow, they had this figured out. That was some fantastic engineering ideas for the time. I mean, a lot of mechanical shafts, no hydraulics involved. Might have oil dripping out of the gearbox on your head. Bucket elevator, that's in pretty good shape. Chain's super tight. Now all you have to do is pull up next to a wagon and dump in. You need a shorter wagon. It is PTO drive. I wonder how modern of a tractor we could mount the picker on. Now it helps that there's a lot of framing and stuff to work with here on the old farmalls. There wasn't as much cast iron, you know, the big C channel down the sides. It still had the turning brakes. I mean, this isn't a quick on and off with the picker to put a cultivator on. And if it's sunny on your right side, you'd be in the shade. Yep, that's my favorite. That is my favorite. A Rumley 2540 oil pull. I don't know as much about these either, other than this is extra, not new. Like they're kind of a cross between steam tractors and we'll say the modernized internal combustion engines. Because these will, that's why I call it an oil pull. Guaranteed to burn successfully, all grades of kerosene under all conditions, at all loads, up to its rated horsepower. So if it's a petrol product, it'll burn it. And they probably did that by the sheer fact that there's probably, I don't know how many cylinders these are. I'm guessing 1 or 2. Anybody can enlighten me, and then that's the radiator. What year was this again? 1929. I feel like this would be one of the last you know, if this existed at the same time, as the McCormick Deering, which seems much more modernized with the corn picker on it. A stationary combine, aka threshing machine. This would go great with the wheat binder out there. 1940? Wow, I guess it wasn't until the 50s that, you know, powered combines came along. Wow. That's wild, because that's like having an 8-track. It was new at the time, but not new for the time. Okay, last two items. Kohler 1-ton truck. Leaf springs, fully encased axle. The muffler. Left-hand drive. Well, I guess it beats a horse and carriage. $995. I don't know the math to do the conversion. That seems cheap now, but it might have been a solid amount back in the day. Last tractor, a little John Deere GP. Well, this was an interesting side note to this trip. Time to get back on the road. We got more things and stuff to do. I can't help myself. So I gotta see the loft. See if there's any goodies up here. Well, I guess we're showcasing an old post and beam setup. The hay trolley. And I wonder what it would cost to build a barn like this. This would be awesome. Stack this full of hay, have some animals down low, and they built it on cinder blocks, so you could run animals without too much trouble down below. An old set of cultivators. Wonder if the hoist actually works. It has to. It's just sitting there, but it'll work to bring things up and down. I don't think that's necessarily old, somewhat modernized looking. The row of windows, this is the view I came up here for. Let me get a top view of the corn picker down there. See, you like how the buckets, so when the pile's up on the one side, the buckets will just keep pushing it across to the front, and when corn hits you in the head, that's when you know you're full. I'll see what I'm doing Saturday morning, whether I got time to waste on the computer and to put in bids on this stuff. Oh, this is set up like a museum, because I think I'm seeing more signs for different machines, but some of the small stuff outside was actually displayed up here. This was like a full-on museum of sorts. Okay, well, now we shall get back on the road. It's like the whole little town is a museum. It's like a classic, you know, frontier town, a boardwalk. It's all concrete now. There's a general store across the intersection, but a little less filming. We gotta do a lot more driving.